Hello viewers and welcome to Europa Universalis IV. I'm your host PPCC, and today we'll be starting a new Let's Play series covering this game now that the Wealth of Nations DLC and the 1.6 sort of content patch has been released. So with that sort of said, let's begin and let's really just sort of check out a nation that we want to play here. Now, as some of you guys remember, right around 8 to I think 9 months ago when this game was released, or rather the base game was released, we had done a Let's Play of Castile over here, so it's been quite a bit of time since then, and I figured the game is definitely worth playing more than once, and well, here we are, where we have the DLC Wealth of Nations installed, and of course the patch installed as well. And well, I think we'll play as the nation of the Hanseatic League, or in other words the Hansa, which is a fairly interesting country just to sort of mess around with, so I think we'll just begin with that note like there. So, with this Let's Play series, really don't know whether or not we should just sort of assume that the vast majority of people already know how to play the Europa Universalis line of games, or perhaps we should just sort of explain things as we go, and I think we'll do a mixture of both. But for now, let's just sort of take a look at the unique sort of scenario that the Hansa sort of presents to us here. So, the Hanseatic League is, for intents and purposes, a merchant republic inside the game, and it was historically made out of effectively merchant guilds here and there. And it was in a period of, well, currently, I mean, the game starts off in 1444, and just in general, during this period, most of the nations around the world, I mean, you have like the big ones like France, England, and all that, the vast majority of these nations were just simply kingdoms, and they followed a rule of, you know, a single person pretty much. And despite that, nations, or rather just sort of city-states like the Hanseatic League here, managed to become actually very just sort of powerful, despite that they was just sort of out the norm. And well, the Hansa actually maintained sort of its trade presence up until the 17th century here, and they practically had a trade monopoly up here, just sort of in the bits of, say, Denmark, Germany, Poland, an area in the Baltic Sea over here. And yeah, they pretty much maintained this powerhouse of a trade sort of city-state like type of thing right until I'd say the 17th, or rather 16th century there, when Sweden over here actually managed to just sort of break up their trade stranglehold over practically everybody else here. And well, even in like today, you'll actually see a few like legacies of the Hanseatic League. I mean, Germany has Lufthansa, the airline, and I think in Holland you have a lot of various different structures named after them, like Hansa Bank and stuff like that. So yeah, they are definitely a very influential sort of player on the world map here and there. And well, they start off with 3 towns here, and during this period of time, I mean, Denmark, it was just sort of one big thing, Sweden was one big thing, but down here, the countries of Germany, Belgium, and of course Holland, they weren't actually formed yet. This area was sort of just a mishmash of different smaller states, which is fairly interesting because this will give us an opportunity to expand. But all of these sort of small Germanic states were actually under a sort of an empire, the Holy Roman Empire here, and the game starts off with Austria being the sort of imperial emperor here, and it'll be kind of interesting managing this area, mainly due to the fact that seeing as how everybody is sort of part of this empire, once we start to expand and conquer areas, the Austrians will actually, they might intervene and try to demand those provinces back, seeing as how technically you're actually not supposed to fight with each other, so that's sort of that there. And well, moving forwards, I mean, we have some very, very high quality 3 provinces, despite only having, of course, 3 of them. We actually start off with a fairly large sized army compared to our sort of neighboring armies. We have a size 8 army. Everybody has just effectively size 3s over here, and we have a 20-ship fleet, where again everybody else pretty much has like a fleet that's right around, you know, 2 to 3 boats pretty much here and there. So that's sort of that. And just going over the HUD right here, we have 69 ducats, which is the currency, just sort of omni coins currency inside the game. We have right around 13,000 recruits for our army in the event that we want to, say, build army units or need to replace our current units. currently have a stability of 0, so that's right in the middle point between, say, absolute chaos and absolute stability. We have some prestige, and that'll grant us a lot of bonuses. We have this Republican tradition thing and this power projection thing, which may be new to some returning players. And power projection is a sort of a thing that works like prestige. It's a bonus for, you gain it by doing certain things, and as you do certain things, you gain the ability to do those things even better, mainly due to the fact that it grants some very, very capable bonuses as you sort of tier it up to that 25 and 50 zone. And the merchant tradition here is just sort of the game's representation as to how well we follow the merchant republic's ideals. And with that said, it'll be very important to keep up, seeing as how if that goes too low, there will be a chance of a revolt in our country. So that's sort of that. Currently, because we're a merchant republic, we have 3 merchants out inside the field doing trading. We have 2 diplomats and 1 missionary, and of course I already talked about the armies and all that, so that's sort of that. And, well, currently the person who leads our government is Erwin Merrick, and he has the stats 253, or 253, and those will be important later on. And, well, starting off, there's a fair amount of bookkeeping that we sort of have to do with, say, the assigning of different things here, so I'm just going to get those out of the way. But the main thing is that we need some advisors here, so I'll just get some of the ones that are decently helpful. You really don't have to keep track of, say, too much on this front, but I'll talk a bit more about it later on, because it sort of varies in importance as time goes on. So anyhow, one of the big concepts inside the game is that you really want to have a lot of these powers over here. That's administrative power, diplomatic power, and military power, and these things are used for a wide variety of different actions. But the main thing is that they're all used for technology and ideas, which are super important inside the game, so it's very important to keep these numbers high. These are a mixture of the nation's base values, the values of these, say, advisors, and of course your leader himself. The nice thing about a merchant republic is that we have elections every 4 years, so that if we have, say, a really bad leader, it won't matter too much, seeing as how we can just sort of replace them every 4 years, whereas for, say, some of the kingdoms over here, if you get a really bad heir to the throne and then your leader dies, you're sort of stuck with a really bad person for at least, say, 20, perhaps even 30, 40 years there. So yeah, that's sort of that. In the economy tab here, you see that we're making some money off the taxation, a little bit on production, which is probably going to be boosted now that we have that production efficiency advisor. And we also have this trade section, which is actually more than our taxation and production by themselves. And, well, seeing as how we are, of course, a nation based upon trading, that makes sense. Our trade is very high compared to everything else, and usually for most nations it's the opposite way around, where trade is sort of a minor thing and taxation is the main thing. Currently we don't really have, we have like the basic technologies and ideas and stuff like that, and these are just effectively ideas that were some things that you can unlock that will give you various different bonuses here and there. And the main thing that I want to do right now is that I want to really just expand our nation here. Ultimately, my objective for this sort of round of EU4 is that I want to form the German nation here. And, well, yeah, the Hanseatic League can form Germany if it takes a whole bunch of provinces and makes them their core provinces, meaning that we make them our own sort of designated provinces here. And there's a whole list of them, but effectively it is pretty much just everything to the south of us, and that is pretty much my main objective here. However, in the meantime, we might say do some other expanding, and ultimately, I mean, the game is, of course, a sandbox, so who knows how this goes, really. Right. So with that said, currently the game is paused on the original starting date, and what I want to do right here immediately is that I want to make a few allies, or actually, no, I think we already have 5 alliances. Technically, we're supposed to have 4, so we have a little too many right now. So in that case, I think we'll just hold up on that, and we'll designate a few rivals then. So yeah, the game has this rival system where you can designate different countries to be your official enemies of sorts, and I believe the idea behind it is that, well, you could designate these rivals for the cost of, say, making your enemies sort of, or rather the countries that you're sort of looking at with very, very threatening eyes, official, and what that translates is a few perks in the form of, say, more alliance offers, more prestige, and some more stuff really about these guys. However, of course, you do obviously make that sort of public to everybody else here and there. And now, one of the things that they've introduced here is that you actually need to have 3 rivals, and of course, as you saw there, instead of clicking on these rival buttons and just sort of selecting any nation that you can currently see on the world map, now you can only select your neighbors, and I think it's more or less just going into the game balancing, and actually, it'll factor into this power projection sort of thing, where so long as you have long-time rivals, you gain more of this power projection, which of course translates into a few bonuses down there with the whole morale, fort defense, and global trade power bonuses there. Now, for the first portion of the game here, I want to follow the missions and decisions tree over here, and you'll see that there's a new category called policies for returning players. This is a new thing that you can do, and again, it'll add a few bonuses, and we'll check that out later on, seeing as how it's a late game sort of thing. Well, I'm going to be following a few of the missions that'll help us out here, and starting off with, I want to conquer the province of Mecklenburg, which is just one of our neighbors, and it's also one of our rivals. So we'll cash that in, and it wants us to form a claim on them, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go to covert actions, and we're going to send a diplomat to forge a casus belli on them, and a casus belli effectively allows you to go to war without just sort of being one of the arbitrary things. So for example, if we declare one without a reason for war, if you will, it'll drop our stability, and it'll effectively make everybody else hate us very much because we've effectively started a war of aggression for no reason. So that is sort of that. We'll send one diplomat over here to keep track of that claim and forge that, and that'll take right around a year. In the meantime, I'm going to send another diplomat to Austria because of course they are the controller of the Holy Roman Empire, and I hope that with high ratings, high relations, that's that 29 right there, hopefully they'll just sort of turn a blind eye to what we are about to do, and I'll really just sort of fast forward the game like that. So, actually, just right now, just taking a quick look at and some of these random events will appear over time. I'm just going to sort of fire them off, gain some stability right here, so that'll increase our trade power and do a whole bunch of other useful things. The main thing is that currently, I want to increase our trade sort of revenue. Currently, we have a trade power of 889.4, and that gives us 30% of a share inside this trade zone, and that's actually one of the more numerous ones. What I can do to further boost this is that I can assign some of our trading fleets to sort of carry patrols inside this area and to protect our trade, which will increase our trade power even more. So I'll send this fleet of these trade ships to just sort of monitor the seas over here, and that'll boost that up to 36%, and eventually our trade income will update. Oh, here it is. It's already updated. It'll go up to right around the 5.12 mark. So that'll generate us even more cash, so that'll be good, like that. Yeah, so overall that is really how we're going to start this game and really go with it. Evidently we have some papal influence. I'll just buy into somebody, really. I'll get, actually I'll just get somebody to... I'll get the game to automatically do that for us, and that's one of the things that we can do. So, in the meantime, our diplomat over here will just be gradually boosting up our relation with, say, Austria. And it looks like that claim was forged, so we finished that mission. That gave us 5 prestige and some military power. And again, those powers are useful for doing a wide variety of different things, but mainly technology is the very important one. And then I'll just fire off the next objective, which is to take Mecklenburg as our mission. So that'll be a nice way to just sort of gain 50 points, I believe, is the reward of administrative power in total, and 15 prestige, just going off of those things. I'm actually going to check the alliances here Mecklenburg has right now, and they're not particularly strong, so we'll go to war with them, and we'll call on our allies that we apparently have so many of to join us. So yeah, that's sort of that in a glance. What else should I cover here? Oh, that's right. I had my trade fleet set out so that it'll go home at the very start of a war, so they'll just gradually do that. In the meantime, let's actually get our fleet to help out here. So I'll bring up my galley fleet here to just sort of blockade the enemy's port, along with taking down their sort of little blob of ships as well. And you get a free military leader, which is something that I neglected on doing, so I'll hire a free land leader, seeing as how our army is drastically weaker than our navy. Our navy can handle without leaders and admirals and all that, and we'll just begin a siege and then of course a blockade of these enemy positions here. And that'll be pretty much just go like that. This should be a very, very easy fight. So yeah, overall, this should go very smoothly. Let's see how this war is going. It looks like the country of Bremen has joined them in this fight. I'm going to switch to the diplomatic map view to see where their nations are. So it looks like they're over here, and it looks like we're just sort of fighting it out over here, so that's good. Our allies over here, represented by the units in blue, are handling their allies, so at least that's good. So okay, so currently our group of say our 8 units with a strength of 7 units is currently blockading this area. It's currently the walls are currently up, and that percent, that negative 28, will just gradually go up over time. And over time, the defenders will just sort of surrender, and then we can just sort of take this province as our own. And on the sea front, of course, our galley ship over here has a full, because we have so many ships compared to the amount of places that we need to blockade. We have a blockade rating of 100%, meaning that this place is completely shut down, and that will help us out on the navy front in terms of blockading this area, and of course doing some other stuff as well. So that'll be good. And because now it looks like that little castle icon has switched to this broken walls icon, I can actually assault this this area to just try to take it faster, although that typically costs a lot of like lives, and with a small nation like ours, it's generally better to just wait until the defenders just sort of siege out like that. So that'll get rid of them like that, and it looks like we kicked their so yeah, that'll turn that province into one that's occupied by us like that. And it looks like a sea battle broke out, seeing as how we effectively pushed out their navy. And oh yeah, if you're fighting in areas such as these inland seas like the Baltic over here and the Mediterranean, this effective volume really needs to go down by quite a bit. There we go. So hopefully we don't get the cannonballs and all that screaming at us now. You will actually get you'll get a benefit, or rather a bonus, to the amount of damage your galleys do. So it's a really cost-effective way to just sort of fight inside these locations. Right. So we'll effectively get rid of these two. Yeah, we'll effectively finish off the war like that. This has practically just crippled the enemy's lanes over here. And it looks like, unfortunately, smugglers are running rampant, and we have the choice between two really bad options here. We can stop them, lose some cash, and lose our +1 stability, or alternatively, we can get 10 years of smugglers dominating, which will affect our trade efficiency and our national tax modifier. Well, unfortunately, that stability will have to go. So that'll be that, and well, currently what I'm waiting for is that it's kind of gamey, but seeing as how Mecklenburg's ally has declared war on us, I'm waiting until our buddy alliances over here make peace with these guys, because in theory, we might be able to bag 2 of these locations, seeing as how the AI usually doesn't try to negotiate for these provinces in wartime. So meaning that as soon as they end their sort of siege here, I'm gonna bet that Bremen here is going to turn back into an unoccupied tile. And with that said, we might be able to just sort of game the negotiations and sort of pick off that province for ourselves. So here's I hope would be an easy way for us to add some some power to our control, or some territories to our control. Sorry. Let's see. Wow, their siege is actually not going on. Okay, there we go. Right, so let's see. So now we should be able to negotiate with this party. We currently have a war score of 100, meaning that we should be able to demand, say, a few of these provinces from these people. So here's what I usually like to do. Inside the sort of conquest or demand tribute panel here, we effectively use war score, that 100%, to make peace offer deals, and it's just sort of a calculated thing dealing with peace offer values and stats on the side here. Right, so currently we have, yeah, these 2 provinces just sort of under our control, and the main thing that we have to manage here is, say, how much prestige we get out of the deal, how many diplomatic points that it'll cost, which is again one of the uses of these powers, how much of this sort of aggressive expansion modifier it'll give us, and unfortunately I can't show you that very well because it brings up this whole list of nations, and how much overextension that this will do. So overall, if you sort of expand very quickly and very aggressively, obviously you'll build up aggressive expansion, and it'll effectively just lower your your relations with a whole bunch of nations around you. I think how it works is that the further away from you, the lesser the penalty, but the closer around you, obviously, the more. And over time, if you have too much of that, nations will actually gang up on you. So the better